students, welcome to my channel Parina Jain Tutorials. So I am back with a new video, that is chapter 6 life processes part 3. In this video I am going to cover all about respiration. So let's start. So first of all, let's understand what is the meaning of respiration. So it is a process in which the food release energy. The process of releasing energy from food is called respiration. So in this process, what actually happens, the food which we takes in, we know that it provides energy, but alone food cannot provide energy. For providing energy, it requires oxygen. So in the cells we have oxygen, and with this oxygen, the food combines and release carbon dioxide, water and energy. So this is the reaction you could see here. This is the molecule of glucose. Remember, in the digestion we have studied that food is digested into glucose, and that glucose is supplied to all the cells, and that glucose provides the energy. So this glucose combines with the oxygen which we inhale and gives carbon dioxide, water and energy. This energy is 38 ATP. So by one molecule of glucose we get 38 ATP of energy. What is this ATP? This is the energy currency. Or you could say here that 38 ATP, 38 molecules of ATP is released by one molecule of glucose. So ATP, the full form of ATP is adenosine triphosphate. This energy is utilized for all the processes which takes place in our body. For example, the digestion process which takes place, contraction or relaxation of muscles which takes place, or any other process which takes place in our body, that all is with the help of this release of energy. When air is inhaled, the air makes a passage through some organs. So these organs makes the respiratory system. So first of all, the air gets into the nostrils. So here we have nostrils. Here we have nostrils. Inside the nostrils, the air is get into the nose. Then inside, when the air get into it, we have the nasal passage, in which we have a small hairs like cilia and mucus. This mucus entraps the dirt and germs particles present in the air. Then the air, free from these germs particles, enter into the body and reaches to the pharynx. Then after pharynx, it reaches to the larynx. Here the larynx is, here you could see, this is the larynx, the opening of the windpipe. The larynx is also known as a voice box. So in this we have vocal cords. These cords vibrate when air flows through it. By the vibration of these cords, the sound is produced and we are able to speak. So when we speak, the sound which is producing, that is due to the vibration of these vocal cords which is present at the larynx. In between these pharynx and larynx, you could also see that there is a membrane, a thin membrane. Here you could see a thin membrane. Here you could see a thin membrane. This membrane is known as the epiglottis. Epiglottis stop or prevents the bolus, the food molecule that we engulf, that we try to swallow. So the food bolus do not enter into the windpipe. It directly moves into the food pipe, because you could see here just beside the windpipe we are also having a food pipe. This is a food pipe. So the bolus do not enter into the windpipe, it just goes directly into the food pipe. This is due to this epiglottis membrane, which prevents the entry of the bolus into the windpipe. Then after the larynx, the air enters into this region which is known as trachea. You could see here the rings. So these rings are cartilaginous. This is made up of cartilage. Due to this cartilage, the trachea do not collapse. Then after this trachea, there is the passage two ways, that is known as bronchi. Then after bronchi, the lungs start. So then after bronchi, the air enters into the lungs. And after lungs, it enters into bronchioles. So what are bronchioles? You could see here, in this is the bronchi, and the bronchi is branching into many parts. So these tiny parts are known as bronchioles. To the ending of these bronchioles, we are having air balloons. These balloons are known as alveoli. So here you could see the expanded structure of alveoli. These are the spongy air balloons. Around this alveoli, you could also see the blood capillaries. So blood capillaries are surrounding these alveoli. So what actually happens in the alveoli, when air enters through this nose, then into the nostrils, then from the nostrils pharynx, then larynx, then trachea, then bronchi, bronchiole, and then finally reaches to the alveoli. So this is the whole passage which it covers, or known as respiratory system. Then after reaching to the alveoli, there is the blood capillaries. In the alveoli, when the air gets filled, that air is rich in oxygen. So that oxygen is taken up by the blood, and blood gives carbon dioxide to the alveoli. So this exchange of gases takes place between the blood and alveoli, which is very important, because that oxygen is then taken up by the blood and reaches to the whole body cells. Then this oxygen will be supplied to whole body cells, and this is how the body cells will get the oxygen for generating energy. Because glucose alone could not produce energy, it requires oxygen to combine, then only it can convert into carbon dioxide, water and energy, and then only our respiration process will get complete. So this is the whole flow chart in which you could understand the function of each of the respiratory organ, the function of nostrils, the function of pharynx, the function of larynx, which is also known as voice box. Here the epiglottis I told you that it prevents the food bolus to enter into the windpipe or the respiratory tract. Then trachea, the windpipe, which is made up of cartilaginous rings, and these cartilaginous rings prevents the trachea to collapse. Then bronchi are divided into two bronchi. Then bronchi divides into many branches, that is known as bronchioles, and these bronchioles end up in the alveoli, which allows the exchange of gases. Now what happens during inhalation or exhalation, or how this inhalation or exhalation takes place? So what happens here, you would have seen that below to the lungs we are also having a muscular belt which is known as diaphragm. So this plays very important role in inhalation and exhalation. This is a muscular belt. So what happens here, you could see the diaphragm. During inhalation, what happens, this diaphragm, the muscular belt, contracts and moves down. When this contracts and moves down, the ribs moves outward. When the ribs move outward, the chest cavity, or we also known as thoracic cavity, this get expand, the volume increases and the pressure decreases. So inside the chest cavity, when pressure decreases, air from the higher pressure region to the lower pressure region is rushed inside. Because we know that everything which flows, that always from higher to lower. So when pressure is higher here and inside the body, when the pressure is lower, so from higher to lower, the air will move inside the body. So how it is happening? The diaphragm is moving down and the ribs are moving outwards. Because of this, the volume is getting increased and the pressure is getting decreased. So the air is inhaled. Then what happens in exhalation? This belt or this diaphragm moves up and the rib cage moves inward. When this happens, So thoracic cavity get decreased, or the volume inside the chest cavity get decreased, and the pressure get increased, because all the air molecules will come closer and closer, so it will increase pressure. When the pressure get increased, so from higher pressure to lower pressure, the air is rushed out. This air is rich in carbon dioxide. We know this thing. So this is how the inhalation and exhalation process takes place. The breathing of air rich in oxygen is called inhalation. After the contraction of muscular diaphragm, the lungs expands, the air rushed in, resulting in the inflation of the alveoli. During exhalation, the diaphragm moves up and lungs contracts. Thus, alveoli deflates, causing the air to rush out. This exhaled air is rich in carbon dioxide. This process of inhalation and exhalation is known as external respiration or breathing, which is approximately 20 times per minute. Now let's understand the difference between breathing and respiration. So breathing, we have just done that inhaling the air which is rich in oxygen and exhaling the carbon dioxide rich air is called breathing, which is also known as external respiration. External respiration. Respiration is the oxidation of food to form carbon dioxide, water and energy. It's called respiration, or this is also known as cellular respiration, because this takes place inside the cell. So this is also known as cellular respiration. Oxidation of food means when food combines with oxygen. Then breathing is a physical process and respiration is a biochemical process. In breathing, we require energy, that means energy is used, and in respiration, the energy is released. We remember 38 ATP of energy is released. Then breathing is extracellular process which takes place outside the cell, but respiration takes place inside the cell. In this, no enzymes are involved, but here in this process, enzymes are involved. This process is confined to some organs, but this process takes place inside the whole body, because this process is taking place inside the whole body cells. Then next, respiration, now we have understood, is of two types, that is external respiration and internal respiration. External respiration, which is known as breathing, and internal respiration, which is known as cellular respiration. But cellular respiration is also of two types, that is aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration means the respiration which takes place with the help of air or oxygen. Anaerobic respiration means which takes place without the help of air. N means without. So this respiration takes place without the help of air or without combining with air or oxygen. Air means oxygen. This aerobic respiration is also known as respiration only, but anaerobic respiration is known as fermentation. So let's understand them in detail. Here is a difference between respiration and fermentation. So first of all, we have organic compound in our cell. Which organic compound? We have glucose. And we know that glucose is 6-carbon sugar. The formula is C6H12O6. That means 6-carbon sugar. This 6-carbon sugar get break down into pyruvic acid. And this pyruvic acid is 3-carbon sugar. That means we can form out of 1 glucose 2 moles of pyruvic acid. This conversion of glucose to pyruvic acid is known as glycolysis, because 6 molecules is breaking down into 3 carbon molecules. So that is why it is breaking down, and this breaking down is known as glycolysis. This glycolysis process takes place inside the cytoplasm of cell. Cytoplasm of cell. And in this process 2 ATP is generated. 2 ATP of molecules. We know that ATP is what? Energy currency. So 2 molecules of energy currency is being generated during this process. Cytoplasm, you must have remembered that in 9th class you have studied the cell. Inside the cell we have a nucleus. which is centrally located mostly, and we have many cell organelles in which one is mitochondria, then chloroplast, then many other lysosomes, many other cell organelles we have. And all this space in which the paste like structure is filled, that this part is known as cytoplasm. So in this cytoplasm region, the glycolysis process is carried out. Now, this pyruvic acid, or we also known as pyruvate, have two pathways. If it gets oxygen, then it undergoes respiration or cellular respiration, in which it forms carbon dioxide, water, and 36 ATP of energy. But if it do not get oxygen, then it undergoes fermentation or anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration means without the presence of oxygen, which takes place. So in this process, pyruvic acid is not getting oxygen, so anaerobic respiration is undergoing. Anaerobic respiration, if takes place in the yeast, it forms ethanol and carbon dioxide. And if it is taking in our muscle cells, then it forms lactic acid. So let's understand them in detail. Here, this is the cellular respiration. So first of all, what is happening? Glucose, which is a 6-carbon sugar, is breaking down into 3-carbon sugar. So 2 molecules of carbon, 3-carbon sugar is forming, that is 2 moles of pyruvates are forming, and in this process 2 ATP of energy is generated. This process takes place in the cytoplasm. So if this is a cell, this whole is a cell, so this whole region is cytoplasm, and in this cytoplasm this glycolysis process is undergoing. Then this pyruvate, in the presence of oxygen, enter into the mitochondria. This is the structure of mitochondria, you remember. With the help of this oxygen, this pyruvic acid is break down into carbon dioxide, water, and forms 36 ATP of energy. So 36 ATP energy is generated here, and 2 moles of ATP is generated here. So altogether we have 38 ATPs of energy. So this is how the cellular respiration takes place. Just the thing you need to remember is that glycolysis process, the first step is taking place inside the cytoplasm, and the second step with the presence of oxygen takes place inside the mitochondria. This is for only aerobic respiration. Then what happens in anaerobic respiration? In anaerobic respiration, the glucose molecules, or we can say the pyruvic acid, undergoes to form alcohol and carbon dioxide, and this takes place in the yeast. So you must be remembering that for making bread, for making cake, we add yeast to the maida. So what does this yeast do? Yeast basically, the sugar which we add, with the combining of sugar, the yeast breaks down into alcohol and carbon dioxide. So the production of this air, carbon dioxide, basically makes the cake fluffy or bread fluffy. So this process takes place with the help of yeast. That is why we add yeast to it. Now the important thing here is, in this also the energy is generated, but very less amount of energy is generated. Anaerobic respiration takes place at the stage in the cells of living organisms. In this, very less amount of energy is generated, only less than the aerobic respiration the energy is generated. Only 2 ATP energy is generated. So 2 ATP, we could say that in the process of glycolysis the 2 ATP energy is generated. So this energy in total is generated. Then how does this lactic acid is produced? The lactic acid is produced basically in our muscles, but it requires some oxygen. It do not takes place in the absence of oxygen. The fermentation or in the yeast, when the alcohol and carbon dioxide is produced, that takes place in the absence of oxygen. But here in this when lactic acid is produced in muscle cells, this takes place in insufficient supply of oxygen. Means oxygen is there but not in proper amount. So what happens when this lactic acid is produced in our muscle cells? For example, when we do a rigorous exercise, so we feel a cramp or pain in our muscles. So why this pain we feel? Because this lactic acid is produced in our muscle cells. So why this lactic acid is produced? Because the amount of oxygen which was required by the muscle cells to produce energy, that amount of oxygen is not being supplied to the muscle cells. That is why in the insufficient presence of oxygen, the glucose have undergone to form lactic acid. It has, instead of producing carbon dioxide and water, it has produced lactic acid. So because of this lactic acid, we feel pain in our muscles. So when we give hot massage or hot bath, when we take this lactic acid, then with the help of liver cells, these lactic acids then undergoes to produce carbon dioxide and water and produce energy. So then we feel relief in our pain after giving the hot massage. So this is how this lactic acid is produced in our muscle cells. This is also known as anaerobic respiration, and less amount of energy is produced in this process because this process is taking place in the insufficient supply of oxygen. Oxygen is given but insufficient. It's not getting that much oxygen which is required. So it is taking place in the lack of oxygen. So this is whole the process which we have understood till now. Glucose is 6 carbon molecule which undergoes into pyruvate, which is a 3 carbon molecule. So we get 2 moles of pyruvate here. This process is take place inside the cytoplasm, and this process is known as glycolysis. Then we have 3 pathways for this pyruvate. If it do not get any oxygen, in the absence of oxygen, it forms ethanol, or we can say alcohol and carbon dioxide, and less amount of energy, only 2 ATP of energy is generated. This takes place in the yeast. In the lack of oxygen, oxygen is getting but oxygen is less. So in the lack of oxygen, lactic acid is produced with less amount of energy, again only 2 ATP of energy. This takes place in the human muscle cell. Then in presence of oxygen, that means in the full supply of oxygen, carbon dioxide and water is produced with lot of energy, and here 36 ATP of energy is produced. So 36 and 2 earlier, here also we get in this process 2 ATP of energy. So 2 ATP here and 36 here, so all together we get 38 ATP of energy in the in this aerobic respiration. And this pyruvate, when gets full supply of oxygen and forms carbon dioxide, water and energy, this takes place inside the mitochondria of cell. So this is the 3 pathways of respiration. Now let's understand the whole process once again, what we have just learned now. First of all, the air which is rich in oxygen get inhaled in the lungs. In the lungs we have alveoli. So through alveoli the blood capillaries are surrounded. So this blood capillaries receives this oxygen, and this blood gives carbon dioxide in exchange to alveoli. This oxygen rich blood is pumped to the heart, and this heart then pump this oxygenated blood to the rest of the cells. Here when this capillaries or this blood reaches to the cells, they give oxygen to the cells, and this oxygen then undergoes respiration process, by which they combines with the glucose, forms carbon dioxide. So this carbon dioxide is generated here. This carbon dioxide is given to the blood, to the same capillaries. This carbon dioxide rich blood or deoxygenated blood is pumped to the heart, and then heart pumps this blood to the lungs back. When reaches to the alveoli, they give this carbon dioxide to the alveoli, to the air, and takes back oxygen, by which the blood again gets oxygenated. So this whole cycle keeps on repeating in our body. In 1 minute, around 20 breathing takes place, or 20 this whole cycle takes place 20 times in 1 minute. So you could now understand that how fast this reaction takes place. Now, what is the difference between anaerobic and aerobic respiration? So we know that in anaerobic respiration, only one reactant we have, that is glucose, but in aerobic respiration we have glucose and oxygen because they combine together. Then if we talk of combustion, so incomplete combustion is taking place because it is not getting any oxygen, so no combustion is taking place. But here aerobic respiration is undergoing complete combustion. If we talk of an anaerobic respiration to form lactic acid, so we can say incomplete combustion because it is getting oxygen but less amount of oxygen. Then if we talk of energy yield, so 2 ATP is generated here, but here around 38 ATP of energy is generated. This takes place in lactic acid or in yeast. This takes place in muscle cells and forms lactic acid. In yeast, it forms ethanol and carbon dioxide. But here in aerobic respiration, it forms carbon dioxide and water. Then location, the anaerobic respiration takes place in the cytoplasm. Remember, in the cells we have cytoplasm, so the pyruvate which generates, or the glycolysis process takes place inside the cytoplasm. So there the cytoplasm only this whole process takes place, but here the process takes place inside the cytoplasm and in mitochondria. Here the stages are of only glycolysis and fermentation, but here we have many processes. This all other processes you will study in your next classes. Then now let's understand what is the meaning of ATP. So ATP, I told you the full form of ATP is adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine is what? Adenosine is a sugar. So here you could see the molecule of ATP in this slide. So this is adenosine, this is ribose. So together this adenosine and ribose forms adenosine. Then this is, here you see phosphorus, and this phosphorus is attached with 4 oxygen. Here you could see the oxygen. So with 4 oxygen it is attached. So this is making a phosphate molecule. And these phosphate molecules are attached with each other by making this strong bond. So by making this strong bond, they are attached with each other. So these strong bonds are high energy bonds. When we break this bond, the energy will be released. Here you could see the 3 phosphates are there. Because of 3 phosphate, we call it as triphosphate. So this, the whole name is adenosine triphosphate because 3 phosphates are attached to it. And if only 2 phosphates will be attached, so it will be known as adenosine diphosphate. If 1 phosphate will be attached, so adenosine monophosphate. This is how the naming is done. Now, if 1 phosphate is break down from this molecule, it will become adenosine diphosphate. And on cleavage, this one bond, it will release 30.5 kilojoule of energy. And this energy is utilized for obtaining all these processes. Like DNA replication means growth and development, protein synthesis, enzyme synthesis, movement of molecules, movement of muscles means contraction and relaxation of muscles. Then body heat means the metabolic reactions which takes place in our body, means this digestion. Or in breathing also, we have seen the muscles contract, the diaphragm contracts, diaphragm relax, rib cage moves outward, rib cage moves inward. All this requires energy. So all the processes which takes place inside our body, or which we are able to perform, like we are able to move our hands, we do exercise, we move our legs, we move, we travel. So all these processes requires energy. So this is all because of these phosphate molecules which is attached to each other. Here you could see the ATP when combines with the phosphorus, it forms ATP. And this attachment requires energy. So they takes up energy and forms ATP. When this phosphate molecules is broken down from this, then it release energy. This is how this whole molecule work. Now, how does the respiration in plants takes place? The respiration in plants takes place by the three modes, by the three organs. So first one is stomata. So we have learned this stomata in our previous video also. Through these openings, this is known as the stomata pore, and these are known as the guard cells. So by the decomposition of water and potassium molecules, these guard cells are regulated. The opening and closing of these stomatas are regulated by the water molecules and potassium ions. So we'll understand them later on. This opening basically controls the exchange of gases. So here for respiration, the oxygen, carbon dioxide is released out and oxygen is taken in. And for photosynthesis, it is reverse. The carbon dioxide was taken in and oxygen was released out. But here we are understanding about respiration. So I am talking of that carbon dioxide is released out and oxygen is taken in. Then lenticels is another in the stems. Not only leaves do respiration, the stems also do respiration. So here sometimes in the stems we see these lenticels, these. So these are the lenticels. By these pores the stems do respiration. Their roots also do respiration. How do the roots do? Roots have root hairs. So here you could see the root hairs. Through these root hairs, the root hairs are associated with the soil, and in the soil there is a gaps. So in those gaps the air is entrapped. By those air the root hair is being respirated. Remember that you must have heard this thing that we should not overwater the plants. If we overwater the plants, what happens? All the air get escaped out from the soil, because in these all gaps the instead of air, all the spaces is utilized by the water. And if all spaces is utilized by water, if there will be no air, then roots will not be able to respire and the plant will ultimately die. So that is why we should not overwater the plants. About plants, we have also learned this thing that in plants we have chloroplast. So in the chloroplast we have chlorophyll. The chlorophyll harness the sunlight and forms glucose and oxygen. This is we have learned in previous video that they forms glucose and oxygen by utilizing carbon dioxide and water. So this glucose and oxygen is utilized by this mitochondria which is present in the animal cell, and in the mitochondria this glucose and oxygen combines to form carbon dioxide and water. This carbon dioxide and water which is given out by the body, by the animal body, is utilized by the plants in the chloroplast, and they utilize these are the raw material for plants. They make up their food and produce glucose and oxygen again. So this is how the whole cycle goes on. This is why we say that green plants are very important for us, because they form oxygen. If green plants will not be there, so this cycle will not get complete. We will only get, after all, the carbon dioxide. We will left with only carbon dioxide, because there is nobody to utilize this carbon dioxide. When green plants will not be there, this carbon dioxide will not be utilized, so will not get this oxygen. Now respiration in other organisms. If we talk of other organisms, the small organisms, like this is the flatworm. In the flatworm, the respiration is taken place with the whole body. The whole body is responsible. From anywhere they can respire. So this is the transaction you can see of planaria or flatworm. Oxygen is taken in and carbon dioxide is given out through the body itself, through the body walls itself, or we can say through the skin. They can exchange the gases. Then fishes, we have a respiratory organ which is called as gills. In the gills we have this mechanism of exchanging oxygen through dissolved air present in the water. Because we know that fishes are present inside the water. So in the water, the amount of oxygen which is dissolved, that oxygen is utilized by the or absorbed by the gills. Then spiracles is present inside the insects. These are the this is a kind of branches, and all the tubules are present and through which the air is being exchanged. These spiracles are present on the body. These small holes are present on the body through which they exchange their air. And in mammals, we have a proper lung mechanism through which we exchange the gases. So what is there? We are basically understanding about the aquatic animals. Since the amount of dissolved oxygen is very low as compared to the air oxygen present in the air or in the on land, so the breathing rate of these aquatic animals is very fast, so that in per minute they could breathe or they could absorb a lot of oxygen. The fishes take water inside through their mouth, and then from the mouth it goes to the lungs, to the gills, and then to the gills. This gills absorbs the dissolved oxygen which is present inside there, present inside the water. Then this oxygen is taken up by the blood, because through this gills the blood capillaries are attached to it. So this is how the mechanism goes on in the aquatic animals. The main thing is that they have a specialized organ called gills, and the second thing is that the rate of breathing in aquatic animals is faster than the terrestrial animals. Now, in small organisms, the breathing could take place by diffusion process. What is diffusion? The movement of molecules from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. So from higher concentration, we know that in the air the oxygen is large in amount, and it goes into the body where the oxygen is less in amount. Then the carbon dioxide, this oxygen is used for the respiration and it forms carbon dioxide. Then the amount of carbon dioxide will be higher in this cell. Then this carbon dioxide from the higher to lower region will be released out of the atmosphere. But this can take place by the diffusion process. Simple diffusion process could take place in the small organism, because this is amoeba and this is so small. You could see here only 0.1 mm. So small it is, so tiny it is. That is why only the diffusion process is capable of supplying the oxygen. In plants also we could see that through these stomata the air enter into the stomata leaves. Then it is supplied through whole of the spaces and to all of the cells. So by diffusion in leaves also the air could be exchanged. But in higher animals, if we talk of, so in this higher animal like elephant if we talk, or giraffe if we talk, or tiger if we talk, or us the human being if we talk, so this diffusion is not sufficient to supply oxygen to all of the body cells. So what we require respiratory pigment. Now what is this respiratory pigment? We know that air is get exchanged in the lungs. So in lungs, when alveoli gives oxygen to the blood, in the blood we have hemoglobin, red blood cells. And in red blood cells, why the red blood cells are red in color? Because of the protein present inside the red blood cells, that is known as hemoglobin. This is a protein which gives color to the blood, and this color is red. That is why it is a red pigment. So this hemoglobin combines with oxygen. Sorry, here you could see this is the cycle. This is the oxygen, and these oxygen molecules combine with the red blood cells. And through these red blood cells, they are carried to all of the body. Now from these organs they have collected the carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide is then given back to the lungs. So what is going on, that we require a respiratory pigment, and this respiratory pigment is hemoglobin. So hemoglobin molecule combines with 4 oxygen atoms, or we could say 2 oxygen molecules. These are the 2 oxygen molecules. So all together we have O2, O2. How many oxygen? 4 oxygen. So 4 oxygen it can combine. 1 hemoglobin combines with 4 oxygen atoms and transported to the each and every body cells. How does carbon dioxide is transported? This carbon dioxide get dissolved in the water, because carbon dioxide has more dissolving capacity than oxygen. So that is why carbon dioxide get dissolved in the water or liquid part present in the blood, that is plasma. So carbon dioxide is carried by the plasma, but oxygen is carried by the hemoglobin. So this is the main thing which you need to remember. Respiratory pigment. What is respiratory pigment? Hemoglobin is the respiratory pigment, and 4 oxygen atoms can be combined by 1 hemoglobin atom. Then oxygen is carried by the hemoglobin, but carbon dioxide is carried through the plasma. The oxygen in the alveoli is taken up by the red blood cells. The oxygen from the red blood cells is then transported to all the cells of the body. The cells in return give carbon dioxide to the blood, which is diffused into the plasma and carried to the alveoli. In large animals like elephant, it is difficult for oxygen to reach all the body parts through diffusion. Hemoglobin, a respiratory pigment present in red blood cells, has a high affinity for oxygen. This pigment binds with the oxygen and forms oxyhemoglobin. Later, through oxyhemoglobin, oxygen is transported to all the tissues of the body. Now, how smoking is harmful for our lungs. So smoking basically release some chemicals which are cancer causing, and these cancer causing chemicals get entrapped into the lining of the alveoli, and this is how they damage the tissues, and they also decrease the natural ability of our lungs to clean and to repair themselves. So this is why our the person got infected by the lungs cancer or any other major problems. So these are the health hazards if we if we take the nicotine, or if we take cigarettes or any these things. So these are the harmful effects which could be caused by the usage of all these things. So now next we are having a questions to do. So if you students have understood all these concepts properly, so you could be able to do all these questions very easily. So thank you for now.